Tiger, big CGI fight coming up.
Colossus Origins. What's up, everyone? This is Devi. Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. Who said Iron Man is the only metal man in Marvel? Today we bring you Colossus, a man of steel from the Marvel Universe found in the XMen series. He is the resident powerhouse of the X-Men in a way. Named Pyotr Nikolaevich Rasputin, Colossus made his debut in 1975 in the giant-sized X-Men Volume 1 by Len Wein and Dave Cockrum. It was published after a long hiatus of 5 years, but they came back stronger and introduced a bunch of new characters, including Colossus. These new characters came into the picture after the original X-Men vanished during a mission on the island of Krakoa. This new team had Colossus, Thunderbird, Nightcrawler, Storm, Wolverine, and many more who later became household names. We will focus on the 2008 origin story released in comic form for Colossus in today's video, including some pieces from the many animated TV series and movies that he has starred in as the resident powerhouse of the X-Men. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Colossus Origin. The change in Colossus happened after the death of his dear brother Mikhail. Mikhail was called to serve in the Russian space program. The two of them were very close, and like all older brothers, Mikhail had promised to watch over him. However, 3 months later, when the entire Rasputin family thought Mikhail was back, it was his friend Alexander instead who came bearing a Medal of Valor for Mikhail, indicating that he was no more. Pyotr was so upset and hurt by this information that he ran out into the snowy fields. His strong emotions resulted in the formation of his shiny metal body, which was witnessed by Alexander. His family also found out about his mutant abilities later that night when he expressed his emotions in front of them. Meanwhile, Alexander Vazin finds out more about mutants, more specifically about the X-Men and Professor X. At the office of the Federal Security Services in Moscow, Alexander hid Pyotr's secret mutant abilities from the director. He knew that if they found out what a source of power Pyotr was, they would use him as a machine or a weapon. However, the concealment of truth did not help much as another agent saw Pyotr's shredded clothing at the site where he transformed. The director put another agent on Pyotr's tail. A year later, Pyotr's younger sister, Ilyana, is born. Pyotr makes the same promises of protecting and watching over her as his elder brother Mikhail did. He calls her Little Snowflake, who later becomes the mutant Magic. The agent, Ivan, has been on Pyotr's tail for the last 4 years and is starting to get frustrated over the lack of evidence. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Professor X meets Alexander. They connect via their brainwaves outside the physical world like most people do with Professor X. He tells Professor X that Pyotr needs to be protected because he is not just a gentle soul, but also an artist at heart. If the Russian government found out about his extraordinary abilities, they would use him as a weapon. 2 years later, Ilyana has also found out about Pyotr's mutant abilities, which he now uses to amuse her. She accidentally calls him Shiny in front of Ivan, who then discovers Pyotr's mutant abilities by secretly watching him and his sister. Within 36 hours of Ivan discovering Pyotr's mutant abilities, the intelligence team learns about him and is ready to attack. However, their attack is unsuccessful as they are unable to hurt Pyotr. There is an intense fight that goes in favor of the Man of Steel, who is enraged by the attack on his family. He finds out that Ivan was the one who revealed him. Once his identity as a secret agent was revealed, Ivan only made things worse for himself by talking. He told Pyotr that they would hurt his family if the government couldn't hurt him. I mean, come on, dude. Why would you say that to a mutant that just destroyed a helicopter? It comes as no surprise that Pyotr kills Ivan. Just after that, Alexander Vazin shows up and informs him that he is the new director of intelligence. Hence, his family is no longer under any threat. He also tells him that Pyotr has an American guardian angel looking out for him. Time passes as it always does, but the attack by the government left Pyotr quiet and angry. One day, a truck goes rogue and is about to hit Ilyana, but he stops it with his body and saves her life. Just then, Professor X shows up. He wants to recruit Pyotr into the X-Men. Alexander is shocked by this revelation because he never wanted Pyotr to be used as a weapon, which was why he contacted Professor X in the first place. All that Professor X had to say to put forth this case was that mutant abilities make one a weapon regardless. Still, he needs Peter to be a hero to create a safer world for mutants. His father supports it and tells him to use his gift for the good of others. He then brings Peter to Salem Center in New York as Colossus. Despite his alter ego as the powerhouse Colossus, Peter Rasputin is one of Marvel's kindest X-Men and gentlest characters. However, there was a point in the series where Peter underwent a kind of amnesia and almost got a happy ending. This major identity shift occurred in 1989, Chris Claremont and Mark Silvestri's Uncanny X-Men Volume 251. This happened after Colossus became paralyzed due to an injury in Volume 212 of the Uncanny X-Men. During the Mutant Massacre in this particular volume, Colossus was quite involved with the X-Men in their efforts to save the Morlocks from the Marauders. In this comic, Peter stopped being a gentle giant and decided to succumb to his rage instead. This change happened when Harpoon injured Kitty, thus ending his moral and ethical dilemma about killing people and effectively killing Riptide by snapping his neck. However, it wasn't like Riptide hasn't done a number on him as well. He had injured Colossus pretty bad during their fight, and Peter then succumbed to his wounds. Magneto used his powers to heal Peter's armor with Shadowcat. While they were able to save him, they ended up paralyzing him in the process, after which he was sent to Muir Island to recover along with other X-Men and the remaining Morlocks. Colossus finally reappeared in Volume 259 of the Uncanny X-Men series. However, he had forgotten about his identity as a mutant. He appeared in Manhattan, where he helped Philip Moreau and Jenny Ransom, two mutants who are fleeing from Genosian magistrates. He was no longer in his metallic form and had developed a sort of amnesia. Since he did not remember his life as a mutant, he had renamed himself as Peter Nicholas to fit in better with the American crowds. He worked as a super of an apartment complex and later a well-known and successful artist. He also fell in love with a mysterious billboard model. Turns out the mystery woman was Callisto, former leader of the Morlocks. A fellow Morlock, Maskey, had remodeled Callisto's face so that she could live a normal life. It would be wrong to say that they did not have any hardships in their relationship, because they most definitely did. They had fought the Morlocks along with the X-Men from Muir Island and Jean Grey. Immediately after that, they were attacked by Genosian magistrates. They were rescued by the Muir Island X-Men. Although grateful, Peter did not want to join the X-Men since he found that lifestyle quite confining. Banshee decided to let him go and enjoy his life with Callisto. But in classic X-Men style, the happy ending was short-lived. Colossus returned as a mutant in Volume 278, however possessed by the Shadow King this time. The only way he could be saved was with the help of Professor X, who restored his memories, which brought him back into the X-Men. Colossus in the X-Men movies. Colossus gets his major screen time in X2 X-Men United movie. In the movie, we see Peter turn into Colossus when William Stryker's Weapon X infiltrates the X-Mansion. They are detected by Syrene's sonic scream, which alerts the students and gets Colossus into action mode. He stops the soldiers with his metal body, attacks them, and rescues Syrene. After that, when he finds Wolverine, he asks him to let him help, but Wolverine tells him to focus on helping the kids. Colossus helps other mutants escape by leading them out of the mansion using a secret passage, which leads them to a forest. While Colossus and the other mutants are escaping, Wolverine kills many of the Weapon X forces. Once things have calmed down, Colossus and the other students return to the Institute. In X-Men The Last Stand, we see Colossus as he takes part in a Danger Room session with other mutants and helps Wolverine in the battle on Alcatraz Island against Magneto. In the Danger Room, the students practice with some of the X-Men and Wolverine. They are engaged in an apocalyptic battle with the enemy blasting fire into everything around them. The students run around to avoid getting hit by flying rocks, so Peter turns into Colossus and touches Rogue's head to transfer his power to her. They both stand in the way of the rocks, which go flying in Wolverine's direction. However, that is no matter to him because he can just heal himself. After a little more fighting, the Danger Room goes back to normal. During the battle against Magneto on Alcatraz Island, Wolverine asks Colossus to throw him at Magneto so that Hank can inject Magneto with a cure and nullify his powers. Moving on to X-Men Days of Future Past, the world has turned into a dystopian future set in 2023. The Sentinels are attacking Moscow and Colossus, along with Blink, Iceman, and other X-Men trying to stop them so that Kitty and Bishop might alter history. Shadowcat wants to send Bishop's consciousness into the past and help the X-Men regroup in China. But during the fight, a Sentinel imitates his biological steel flesh and uses his own abilities against him. The Sentinel punches off Colossus' arm and crushes his head. Thankfully, he lives due to Kitty's and Bishop's ability to alter time. Colossus is then seen instructing with Kitty Pryde as Wolverine wanders around the X-Mansion after the chronology is ultimately fixed. Colossus is shown as one of the mutant infants born prematurely following the Chernobyl tragedy in a viral marketing website for X-Men Days of Future Past. Later on, after the timeline has been altered, the team decides to send Wolverine back into his body from 1973. Colossus helps them fight the Sentinels once again as Kitty holds Wolverine's consciousness in the past so she can complete his mission. During the fight, Blink creates a portal that sends Colossus into the sky. He keeps going through such portals and gains momentum enough to punch through a Sentinel's body. However, they have an overwhelming number of troops. One Sentinel jumps over him, while the others grab other parts of his limbs, and they all grab and pull. This ultimately rips him in half, while he is still in his armored form. In the revised timeline, Colossus is seen in the iconic Deadpool and Deadpool 2. We highly doubt there is a better way to discover another mutant than seeing him on the news while eating grape nut cereal. That's how Colossus found Deadpool, causing mayhem on a bridge and making headlines. Colossus takes his student Negasonic Teenage Warhead in a jet plane to stop Deadpool from killing Ajax. While he tries his best to make Deadpool leave his ways and become a perfect sweet angel boy like himself, Deadpool is just Deadpool and he kills the villain. In Deadpool 2, Vanessa is dead and Deadpool tries to blow himself up, so Colossus takes his body parts to the Institute to help him recover. We see that Colossus still hasn't given up hope on Deadpool. He finally manages to convince him to join the X-Men. Deadpool's first X-Men assignment involves resolving a standoff between the authorities and the unstable adolescent mutant Russell Collins in an orphanage known as the SX House for Mutant Rehabilitation with the help of Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Wade shoots a staff member after realizing that Collins had been mistreated by the orphanage staff, but Colossus stops him. Colossus is clearly disappointed as we see both Wilson and Collins being taken into custody. Wade subsequently asks Colossus for assistance in stopping Juggernaut as he attempts to stop Russell from killing someone. Colossus initially declines but later appears to help Wade save Russell from himself by helping to beat Juggernaut alongside Negasonic and Yukio. Interesting facts. Colossus was shown to be a direct descendant of Grigory Rasputin in Colossus Bloodlines. Grigory was an infamous mystique who was known for his unholy relationship with the Romanov dynasty. In the Marvel Universe, he is known as a mutant, of course, who was used by Mr. Sinister to create a race of superhumans back in 1916. Imagine if that happened. The war would have taken a different turn and Captain America would have to find new ways to defeat people. Peter and Mikhail, however, come to the rescue of the world and foil their plan by voluntarily hiding themselves away in a secluded dimension that is pretty much inescapable. He obviously had a rather happy childhood, as we have seen before. He was deeply loved and supported by his family members, and has set the stage for his kind behavior seen throughout the shows and movies. It made him selfless, and he would keep risking his life for people. However, he was a little too kind at one point, so much so that he got brainwashed by Miss Locke, who had kidnapped Illyana, his sister. Later in the stories, we see that Illyana dies due to the legacy virus. Now, while Beast finds a cure for it, it comes with a classic X-Men catch. The cure can only work if it is airborne, which would happen only after the death of the first person who gets the cure. So, after his sister's death due to the virus, Colossus was quite emotional and heartbroken. He decided to sacrifice himself and injected the cure. Later, we see Kitty taking his ashes to Russia. However, there is another twist. The ashes are not Colossus's at all. In fact, Colossus had been abducted and resurrected by an alien named Ord. This alien, along with a geneticist at Benetech, Kavita Rao, perfected the cure inside Peter's body and created a mutant cure. He was also a part of Magneto's acolytes. After being deeply hurt by the death of his family members and suffering a brain injury, he leaves the X-Men. The acolytes seem to have a fanatic devotion towards Magneto, which Peter lacks. Even after recovering from the brain injury, he continues to stay with the acolytes in the hopes that he would be able to change their extremist views. Now let us move on to the Marvel Ultimate Universe. Many Marvel fans are divided about the Ultimate Universe. Many character decisions, such as Quicksilver's incestuous relationship with the Scarlet Witch, have drawn harsh criticism in this universe. Another interesting decision in this series was to show Colossus as a gay man. Unlike the mainstream continuity, Ultimate Nightcrawler and Colossus have a rocky friendship in the series due to Nightcrawler's open homophobia. We see that Colossus eventually leaves the X-Men and returns to Russia due to this, and he becomes a national hero in Russia. Storm discovers him and speculates, like many others, that he fled due to unrequited affections for a certain team member who is eventually revealed to be Angel. However, his homosexuality is one of the most well-received features of the Ultimate Comics. Critics applauded the social satire and Colossus' romantic endeavor scene, especially when talking about his relationship with North Star.
Do you have off switch?
Yeah, it's right next to the prostate. Or is that the on switch?
Enough!
What makes him so powerful? Colossus has the extraordinary power to transform his whole body's tissues into an organic steel-like material. This steel-like material has an unknown composition, but it looks similar to osmium and carbon steel. This metal is quite strong, but it is not as strong as adamantium, which is the metal in Wolverine's claws. He can morph into this metallic state at will and stay in that shape for an unknown number of days. The longest known time that he has stayed in that form by choice is 5 days. He can choose to remain as Colossus until he actively wills himself into becoming Pewter again. However, in case he is struck unconscious, he automatically reverts to his regular body. The only time this did not happen was when he had his brain injury. He has the same level of mobility in his armored form as he has in his conventional form. There is a complex procedure that makes his bones and flesh turn into metal. Colossus trades osmium atoms for his carbon atoms by desiring the process of transmutation. There is a psionic interface with the other dimension that recreates the whole body of Colossus in functionally similar organic ionic osmium materials. The technique through which Colossus gets his mass is unknown. However, Colossus cannot turn into metal partially or decide to turn selected parts of his body into metal. His entire body must be transformed. None of that makes him any less cool though. Colossus gains immense superhuman power after shifting into his steel-clad form. He was powerful to lift around 70 tons even as a teenager. We know it is crazy how much this man can bench. His strength has only improved as he has grown into an adult. He is impervious to most sorts of bodily damage in his armored form. He can withstand highly demanding temperatures ranging from 70 degrees to over 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit. He doesn't even need to breathe when he is in his metal form, although it is thought that he would not be able to survive in a state of vacuum. Honestly, we don't understand how that works. Well, feel free to let us know your theories on this. His body is quite extraordinary and can even draw electricity like regular metal, while making sure that he is immune to its effects. He can also withstand falls from vast heights when he is in his metal form. Due to his shape, when he is metal, Colossus prefers to jump at adversaries from a great height, causing a shockwave when he lands. In the Ultimate Comics, he is shown to be addicted to a power-enhancing substance called Banshee. While addiction is a significant divergence from Colossus' mainstream analog, in the Ultimate Universe, Colossus' mutation only gives him steel skin and not the strength that fans expect. In the Ultimate X-Men number 96 by Colite, Brandon Peterson, and Clay Mann, Pewter grows so heavy without a boost from Banshee that he falls beneath the weight of his own body as the drug begins to wear off. This drastic alteration to Rasputin's abilities makes his Banshee addiction more credible. Where else has he appeared? Besides movies and comics, Colossus has also appeared in TV series like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, X-Men, Pride of the X-Men, X-Men the Animated Series, X-Men Evolution, and Wolverine and the X-Men. He has been a part of video games like X-Men, X-Men Children of the Atom, X-Men Legends 2, Rise of Apocalypse, etc. Colossus is a sweet, interesting character that is seen thriving in any environment. However, he is happiest when he is just an artist, unaware of his mutant abilities. But we see how good he is when he is ready to give that up and help the world be a better place. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
You see that bus? I'm gonna shove it up your ass.